Gabe and Ken. I'm joined just about every fortnight like Ken and Holyoke, and we are live at the Grizzly Paw Pub in Canmore, Alberta on Treaty 7 territory. The ancestral homeland for Stony and Cottreau Nations of Fairport, Canadian Good whose name for Canmore translates to shooting at the willows, the Sertina First Nation, Blacksmith, Nistabi Nations of Siksika, Kizani Ghana, and Battle River Territory of Métis Region 3 for the combined Canadian Archaeological Association and the Archaeological Society of Alberta meeting. Yeah! Yeah! All right. So you guys have got the message already. Now, before we get going, this is a live podcast. We are recording, and we would love to hear you in that recording. Okay, so you don't need to be silent. And to those of you who skipped the Franklin talk to come tonight, we hope it's not just missing a talk about sunken ships to actively watch a ship sink. We're not just on the rocks, we're on the Rockies tonight. So, don't be shy about speaking up. You can clap, you can cheer, you can hopefully not jeer, but if you feel it necessary, you're more than welcome to. We might throw one of these chocolate projectile points at you though, so that's, we got a whole bunch of those to give away. Before we get going, if you haven't filled out a cue card to enter into the draw, we've got a bunch of swag to give away tonight, so make sure you do that. The other thing is there are QR codes spread around the room that say donate to the CAA Scholarship Fund. If you do that, let us know, give us a wave, and you will get one of these beautiful, limited edition New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast aprons. You can't spell New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast without G-R-I-L-L. And that's while supplies last, everybody. That's while supplies last. So we want to extend a huge thanks to the Grizzly Paw Pub, to manager Ross Hansen, to all the staff here tonight, so Bree, Jack, Chloe, Liz, Natalia, everybody else who's in the room here, for allowing us to use this space. We also want to congratulate them on their 30th anniversary to Niall Fraser and the staff. So, And we'd also like to thank our excellent producers, Emanuel and Cody, who will make us sound better than we deserve, and you'll see them floating around the room. And we have Emanuel to thank for the soundtrack tonight as well. And for anyone that needs audio engineering, video production, or social media work, they're looking for work. So, so seek them out. And so, Ken, there was a news item recently that sparked some controversy. Yes, we talked about it on the podcast. So we're here on essentially kind of on the cusp of the ice-free corridor. We're all talking about, there's a big session tomorrow, I think, about the peopling of the Americas and some ice-free corridor research. And so, for those of you who have been following it, Monte Verde has come into question, right? So we got lots of archaeologists in the room. So we thought we'd do an informal poll here before we get going. Which camp are you in? So where are we falling on these things, Gabe?
Monte Verde, down.
So, well, we should ask them. Well, as you know, Ken, I've been on a journey as a born-again Clovis Firster. Yes, yeah. So, and we're out here. We've got the Wally's Beach site just south of Lethbridge, which is, a certified pre-Clovis site, old enough to be that. So for those of you in the room who have followed this debate, or even if you haven't, yeah. What's your thoughts? Is Monte Verde still legitimate? Is it pre-Clovis? Is it 14,000 years old? Let's get a cheer for that.
Yeah!
Okay.
Yeah!
All right.
Love it.
And what about a cheer for if it isn't? Oh, the blue ribbon panel has spoken once again, Gabe. That's apparently nobody understands how a volcanic top works in this room. That's all. And so, Ken, what are you drinking today?
I've got the blonde, and I don't have the name right in front of me. What is it called?
Well, while you look that up, I'm drinking the Evolution IPA, I think?
Yeah, Powdered Hound Blonde Ale. Yeah.
And as many of you may know, referenda are kind of in the air right now. And so as the night progresses, we're going to have a referendum on everyone's favorite beer here at the Grizzly Paw. So as you're drinking that beer, think about and be prepared for that referendum later in the show.
Yeah, and so Gabe, you're taking in, this is your first visit to the prairies. You've been to Edmonton, but you haven't experienced the mountains, is that right?
Did the hat make you think that?
So you kind of preempted something, and I got a gift for you, actually, to welcome you to the prairies. So a rite of passage on the prairies is to attend the Calgary Stampede. So I've got Gabe an authentic Stampede cowboy hat here with the red ribbon and everything. Yes.
Yeah!
And so, so Gabe, any highlights so far of your visit to the Plains?
Well, my lips are always chapped and my nose feels like it's going to bleed most of the time. I have this weird elevation headache. Is that what you meant?
I think that's pretty on par.
Yeah.
So, any highlights, drinks, food so far?
So the listener may not know this, but the trick after a long flight is to immediately find a hotel bar that serves a Caesar salad and more than one, but fewer than 4 Manhattans.
Yeah.
And so I did a hard reset that way in Calgary. But then there's a restaurant right over here where I had a black Manhattan and steak tartare.
Yeah.
Because I thought in Alberta, I wanted the steak to still have a pulse. I thought that would just be a more intimate experience.
Very good, yeah.
How about you, Ken?
Well, I had pretty good lunch at the hotel today. I had some hummus at the Grizzly Paw, the other Grizzly Paw, which we, if the room isn't full, there might be a whole other group of people waiting for the podcast to start at the Grizzly Paw across from the hotel.
We're simulcasting though, I think, aren't we, Cody?
I don't. Yeah.
We are, right? Okay, good. They can see it too. So
we're international.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ken, how many conferences have we gone to together, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, quite a few. Like, probably the first was a CAA back in Halifax.
Yes, where we ended up on a floor in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, wondering how we got there.
Yeah, and a couple broken men on the Halifax pier.
Absolutely.
I think that was. So other than microphones, this isn't much different than how we do conferences.
Pretty much how we've always done conferences.
Couple
We're
guys.
quieter with the microphone.
Yeah, we're yelling at the bar.
Yes.
So you guys can just hear us a little bit better.
Speak for yourself. It's the same.
So we're going to be joined today to help us in this quest by a couple of very special guests to discuss, among other things, the Canadian Archaeological Association, the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology at University of Alberta, and a very famous site here, UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. And we're also going to have a special reveal of where the CAA is going to be hosted next year by...
I know the Revelator's not curious.
Yeah, he'll be here, I'm sure.
Yeah,
You can send him a text message.
Okay. Yeah.
And just some kind of like housekeeping stuff. We're gonna have draws throughout the night. We will have an intermission at some point. So, but feel free to refresh your drinks, grab some food, and cheer, holler. And if you have a question at any point, put up your hand. We may walk you in a microphone. But if you're looking a little suspicious, we might not.
So Ken, what's the strangest place you've ever recorded this podcast in?
Probably, well, I mean, we've got a spot that's become a bit of a running joke that I'm kind of hoping you brought microphone gear for, and that is the Chili's in the Calgary airport. And there used to be 3 Chili's in the Calgary airport, and so it was always trying to figure out which one I should sit at, but they've gone down to 1. So, but I have found that it is the back corner is a really great spot to record podcasts.
I'm pretty excited for an early morning popping boba marg on my way out of town.
Yeah. You've got an early flight on Sunday.
I do, yes.
Dangerously.
But so as you all can see, because you're here, we've been trying to grow this podcast beyond the nearly 30,000 listens, a Canadian Archaeology Association Public Communication Prize, and, believe it or not, an invitation to the East Coast Music Awards. And so we think we might need a name that better captures the expanding breadth of our mission here. Because, Ken, it's really about the mission, isn't it?
It is about the mission,
Yeah. And Ken, we do have the best listeners in archaeological podcasting, I'm fairly confident in saying. And that's why we're turning to you all for help in renaming this very podcast. But before we do that, there's just one thing I want to get out of the way, Ken. How many of you in the crowd are first-time listeners to the Gov't of Archaeology podcast? Okay.
The volume, come on. How many? Blues.
Yeah! There we go. Yeah! That's how excited they are that this is the first and last time they'll listen to this.
These are like all the people that listen to the first ever episode and then just shut it off. We have statistics that show a massive drop-off after that first episode, so we really just have to pull it from the internet. So how many of you are frequent listeners to New Brunswick Archaeology?
Woo!
Okay, right. How many of you are Canmorites that just kind of stumbled in here and there's a bunch of people yelling?
And how many of you listen but you have your VPN set to Singapore? Still don't know who that is.
Still don't know who that is. We have a frequent listener in Singapore, so if you're here, speak up, please.
But so you may not all know this about the podcast, but if we were to get a new name from you, we don't actually think about our listeners as family, because family, of course, as Marcel Mauss explained, are people you can just steal things from. No listener, audience, we think of our listeners as at-will employees of a highly personalized business, something those of you in CRM might find quite relatable. And accordingly, we would never just steal a name that you provided to this podcast. We would make sure that you were adequately compensated for that exchange of IP. And we would do that with the following prize. I know, Ken, I'm not actually familiar with IP law in the sovereign nation of Alberta, but
I think it's getting hammered out right now. Yeah.
so Ken, am I right that you've written part of a paper that you might someday submit to the Journal of Archaeological Science?
That's right, yeah.
Ken, am I right that you're a licensed nuclear technician?
Expired license, yes, but I once had the license, yes.
Okay. Ken, am I right that you briefly had a GPA somewhat larger than 0 in the science faculty at the University of New Brunswick?
That is also true, yeah. That's why I'm an archaeologist, actually.
And Ken, are you familiar with the teachings of Sir Isaac Newton?
Vaguely.
Okay. So we're talking acceleration of something like 32 feet per second squared from the top to the bottom head smashed in buffalo jump, right?
I think that's pretty close.
Okay. And to calculate that, we're going to assume, as with all physics, that most variables equal 0. Okay. But the good news, Ken, is that the physicists over at iFly Indoor Skydiving in Calgary don't. They use numbers with decimal points, superscripts, units, all that stuff. And that's why we here at the New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast have partnered with them for the head smashed in buffalo experience. And Ken, the way this works is that while wind tunnels are increasingly obsolete for testing cars and aircraft, they do still have a use. When placed vertically, gigantic fans at the top of the column can suspend a person, even if in a buffalo costume, and give them the feeling of a free fall without all that pesky jumping out of planes. It's got a lower carbon footprint too.
I mean, that's important, right?
Yeah. And actually, Ken, this could be an interesting study for all those pesky tumbleweeds in Lethbridge, Alberta that keep killing children.
Yeah, if they can't get the fencing back up next year, my children will sustain more tumbleweed-related injuries.
Yeah. And Ken, let's talk for a minute about the buffalo outfit we would put the lucky listener who renamed this podcast in. We're partnering with the official furrier of the Brunswick Archaeology Podcast, and Ken, actually, the downside of the live show is that these folks can look at us and say, furrier than those two? Anyway, Spenzing Charlevoix furs have been providing the greater Calgary area with furs since 1938. Whether you need Russian sables, mace, chinchillas, fox, sheared beaver knits, cashmeres, or, as we do in this case, a tailor-made buffalo suit. And Ken, when we were talking about this at the bar last night, we thought this might be one area where we could break slightly with the authenticity of the experience. And that's because, while looking like a buffalo is pretty cool, it might not come up very often in this lucky listener's life. Not only that, but it gets cold here at Canmore. In fact, Ken, did you know that in January 1950, the mercury dropped like a buffalo from the sky to minus 51.2 degrees Celsius? That's 221.95 degrees Kelvin. No, it's a three-piece buffalo skin power suit. And obviously the lucky listener will need to work with the Charlevoix to get the measurements to their personal preferences. But Ken, look out at the audience. Have you ever seen a more sartorially splendid group of people?
I'm not sure we have.
Now, they only put the C or even the B- in cheap, which is awfully good for archaeologists. And of course, Ken, the boots. Is it safe to indoor skydiving heels? Probably not, but it can't be more dangerous than busting broncs, joining a posse, shooting and drinking at the Lady Luck Lounge, being a journalist who asked Daniel Smith about corrupt care, being a rattlesnake remover at ULEF, or any of the other things that folks do in cowboy boots. And we're going to set the listener up with some views. That's right, Ken. These are jet black Alberta calfskin with ostrich inlay, replete with pointed toes. You don't get caught in the stirrups or mistaken for somebody straight off a dude ranch outside of Red Deer. And then, Ken, the lucky listener won't just look fly, they will fly. That's right, listener. We're going to put the phenomenology, the smash and smashed in, the intense and intensification. And just like that, Ken, it'll be over. We had planned to include communal butchery using some VR, but our producer thought it would seem a little too much like the movie Saw, at least for the lucky listener. So instead, we'll be sending the listener back to Calgary for a bite at the Vintage Chop House and Tavern, for an appetizer of steak tartare, followed by a Brent leg wagyu ribeye, and for dessert, it's a half pint of Alberta Premium served neat or on ice sourced directly from the Athabascan Glacier. Ken, where will the lucky listener with the winning new name for this very podcast send it?
Well, they would send that to newbrunswickarchaeology@gmail.com. That's New Brunswick Archaeology, all one word. Archaeology spelled ARCHAEOLOGY. newbrunswickarchaeology@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at new_Brunswick_archaeology. Or because we're live, you can just put up your hand and give us a suggestion for what you think the new name for this podcast should be.
That's right. We'll be making suggestions all through the night, so keep those in mind. But because it's a very special night here in Canmore, we have a first prize draw, Ken.
I think we do, yeah. So should I go get the bucket?
Yes, go grab the bucket. And if anyone hasn't put their name in the bucket yet for the prize draw, catch you for the next one. And what are we starting with, Ken?
Let's do left, right. So we've got an atlatl sweatshirt.
Okay, we are starting with an atlatl sweatshirt.
And a polo and a University of Lethbridge bag.
And a University of Lethbridge bag and a buff.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to reach it. You can shake this up.
Shake it up.
All right, we're shaking it up.
All right. I got one.
Ken's got one. All right, Ken, and who is going to win the atlatl
Shawn
sweatshirt?
Bubel. There is a benefit to sitting at the front.
Congratulations, Shawn.
There you are.
Do you like my stars?
I do, yes.
This is smart.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Perfect, thank you. And so before we get going here any further, we've got a ton of very generously donated prizes, and we'd like to thank the Archaeological Society of Alberta, the CAA, the University of Lethbridge, Circle CRN, Stantec Consulting for these amazing prizes.
And atlatl archaeology and I think that was it.
We think that's it, but if we left anyone out, we apologize. We will
Oh,
add
and
you
Circle
to the-
CRN.
We
We had that one? Okay, yeah, all right.
and Ken, you're about to make a very Canadiana remark here.
Yeah, so for the next prize, I'm just curious. I don't think there's any Canmorites in the room, but are there any mics here from Canmore?
No? No mics from Canmore.
No mics from Canmore. Okay, all right. Next question might favor one part of the audience and entirely self-serving. Gabe, I doubt you know the answer to this, but in the spirit of the NHL playoffs, which team not in the playoffs just drew the first overall pick tonight in Tuesday's draft lottery?
I don't follow high a lot, but the audience might know.
The audience might know. Kevin in the front, who knows? We got somebody in the front?
Yeah.
It's your team, baby.
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, now without further ado, we're going to welcome TJ Hammer and Katie Cottreau-Robins to tell us a bit about the CAA. Yeah. And as TJ and Katie are coming up, Ken, I would just like to draw your attention to, again, an opportunity for some limited edition, the Brother Archaeology Podcast swag, on a first come, first served basis. All right? Excellent. Well, there goes one. If you've donated to the CAA Scholarship Fund, we are happy.
Probably an excellent steak. A fresh cut steak. I think that makes it. It's
Okay.
all right. So we are happy to welcome our guest. Kate Cottreau-Robins is the curator of archaeology at the Nova Scotia Museum and is the outgoing president of the CAA. And TJ Hammer, the director of archaeology, collection and curation at Parks Canada, and the incoming president of the CAA. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Maybe tell how's the audio on this today, Joel? Yeah. All right. Want to do a sound check? I need to see. Check.
Check.
You really cool. So is the audience able to hear fairly clearly?
Hello.
Oh, you're
Good?
Yeah. Hello?
It should be on three on there's no four.
There's no 4. Okay, so you guys are still watching. That's not how the CAA works. I know. You're locked in now. Yeah. So Katie, could you tell us about some of the initiatives that the CAA has undertaken over the last few years?
Sure. When you become president, it's kind of a 4-year thing, right? So you're president with elect, and then 2 years as president.
Yeah.
And then you hang around for another year as past president and support the incoming president. And it's busy. It's busy, right? So the 2 years of president, there's a lot of kind of internal board business that has to happen on a regular basis that we take care of. But our work is to engage with the membership, work on behalf of the membership, and raise the profile of archaeology in Canada and try and get other people to think about taking that back as a career. So within that framework, a lot's been done. We've done several letters in support of issues that have come up. We've linked to the CCRA, which is really important.
Really great session this morning. Well attended.
Yeah, I went to part of that. It's very good. You guys had students.
It was a big crowd for this story.
That's it. We've also looked at things like regional job descriptions for people on the board because they have gotten complex in some ways. We've become members of the National Trust. So we're in another set of conversations about heritage preservation, which is really good. What else have we done, TJ? New website. I hope people look at the new website.
It's already tipped up, the website. It works, you know.
He's really tried to listen to messages, emails, discussions from the membership about things they want to see changed to the website as part of that.
Okay, great.
There's been a lot of work on the journal. Maybe we'll talk about that later. And conferences. Let me just say, when I first came on, the first challenge for me was to try and find someone to host the conference.
Yeah.
And we made the decision that we weren't going to host recently last year, right? And at least the rankings came in at the last moment and saved us. And so we did a large piece surveying the membership on your thoughts about the conference and how it actually came. And that was really helpful. I don't know, there's been a lot of really good discussion. When you're president, kind of highly functioning board. So you're not alone in being president, but you are very aware that you're at the top and have responsibilities around over 700 members of a long-standing organization. My first CAA meeting was in 1983. It was in Halifax at the undergrad, and I was like, whoa, I want to be a part of this, right? So I was very honored to be asked to be president. And thanks for the shout out at Halifax. That conference in 2011.
Yeah.
I chaired that. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, we worked a lot. We worked on what's coming out. And now, of course, with the Archaeology Matters piece, that is really significant. So far, the conference had great records and talks. I've had speaker copies of it and they want to explore how we can come together better on addressing what I shared with you as a philosophical shift.
Well, that conversation at lunch today.
I'm really happy about that too.
Yeah.
And I think I don't do anything alone, but it's really in isolation, and I have to thank everyone who has been supportive of me as president. And I'm really excited about TJ.
Yeah. So
coming on.
So TJ, what are your goals as the incoming CAA president?
Well, I guess I'll start off with a bit of your examples there.
You can use it.
Okay. First off, on the Franklin thing, I don't want to sink the ship. Second, on head in, I don't think I want to go on. I don't want to zip it off.
Yeah.
So, no, all kidding aside, it's a 3-year term, so I mean, it can be really ambitious. I'm ambitious. I'm really thinking you said word, I should be seeing that literature, as well as the really function board. So the priorities that we talked, let's look at last year's list, and I would say, continuing to build on the positive progress with respect to the journal, to catch it up. As everybody knows, it's the fundamental cornerstone of the association, and on it to get archaeological knowledge out, of Canadian archaeology. Second, I would say, is really enhancing the relevancy. I think that's more important as we move along. A good test that is CAA just introduced statement Archaeology Matters.
Yep.
And, there's a number of organizations, I think, that we need to go in and get CAA support this year. And actually, motion and contribution of archaeological resources, but the largest community, cultural resources that large. And this could include Canadian leadership, decided to have that separation, partnership with the next trust on the National Council. But let's begin to look at the relationship with one like Canadian Museum Association, Canadian Conservation Association, CCRA as well. And it is, the National Indigenous organizations that are on the minds the Indigenous areas as well. So I think that's a really key reason that a focus on Prairie starting it, the boys starting it, so fun, and Jimmy Wong as well. I say lastly is contemporary people. Yeah, that rapid and political partnerships are really huge. But if it's important for the organization to get to look at, have a look at more species, as well as have a look at the strategic plan which ended in 2013, I believe. Just to have a look at that analysis and see, what needs to be updated. Through Katie's leadership, we revised the director's job descriptions, if you will, which are in prosecution. So there's some work that way as well. And then we're doing citizen to members' needs as well. And I think really getting feedback from Archaeology Matters, statement that is really important state.
That's great, correct. And so we've seen here in the archaeology programs and funding caps at both the federal and provincial territorial levels the last year or so. What can we do at the CAA? What can we do to bring attention to these issues? And what role does or can the CAA play in coordinating those efforts? And you're both welcome to answer this too. So. Oh yeah,
you're talking really fast there, Gabe. I'm 63.
Yeah. I also have a lot of this doing that.
I haven't had to hear it yet. I'm waiting. I've been having water, just a great lemon fizz up in next year.
But we've seen heritage and archaeology programs and funding cuts at both the federal and the provincial territorial levels in the last year or so. What can we do to bring attention to these issues? And what role does or can the CAA play in coordinating those efforts? I know you just had a statement on that.
I'm just thinking for repeating that. I appreciate that. In my mind, I've kind of passed the letter writing phase. We send a lot of letter writing to politicians and folks in certain positions of power that we hope in House Biden, asking for dialogue, asking to listen to us. And that's important. We're not hearing back, so we've got to do more. And I think what we need to do is have a conversation. We need to organize our thoughts around that, and we need your input from membership, educators. I don't know if we want to have a gathering. I don't know what will happen after that expansion gathering, but we need the members. This is a dialogue. And it's still actually work and largely women, they're researching their passion.
Yeah, but with 700 people, like 50 or so.
Yeah, exactly. But the power is there, people, but we really need to come together. We need to cancel it. There's some folks we hear from all the time.
Right.
But we need to, I think we need to figure out a way to do our wider group. And intensive.
Yeah.
So.
Are you listening, listeners?
This is important. I mean, this is what we do. This is what we dedicate our lives to. We care about this. We're really nervous about these cuts.
Yeah.
Because these are government bodies and traditional institutions that have always funded us. And to lose that funding, a statement like our access is very important to support anymore, and that that seems as well. It's not good for us.
Yes.
It's not good. It's a public good. Right?
If I could, as well, the membership is changing, and absolutely. One of the things though, I think is the idea of relevancy. Right? It's getting in, and it's very is a public archaeology out. You're showing the public the sense of archaeology and ethics, I think, is key because when we stick to just an membership, I think it's a responsibility of everybody. We're preaching to the choir. And so we do get out because what matters to the Canadians, and you really have an absolute clue that this comes.
So curious, are you presenting at the meeting? And if you are you presenting on? But if not, what are you most excited for here other than being on podcasts?
Well, this was my number one thing. I'm a big fan. Hands up to that. I have to say at the big question. No, I've not presented on yet, but I would just stress this that I would lower the stress that way. And just, we had a board meeting. I'm looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to the AGM. And I'm looking forward to the Franklin session this year. Meeting over 400 delegates, I think it was something I'm like very excited about that. I won't scoop the location for the year next. I'm excited about that. I think also as well, just the variety and diversity of topics that we have. You know, I mean, CCR English there, and then there's marriage session, which is like fall day, as well as Native American, and then, you know, maybe before tonight, I think it's a wonderful program. And Matt's not to show one of the nicest that the organization to be, but it's really exciting, like to say. Maybe give him a clap. Yeah.
I was my picture this afternoon, so that's done.
So it's easy breezy now.
I did the, was in the hip mixers.
Yeah.
And it was really, like, we had three specialty flavoring, and they know what's going to be up in the front of my versions. And I really Nordic and seafood, the development of Black Archaeologists present at CAA. And I was reflecting on that today. It's like I mentioned in 1983, my first CAA, it was in Halifax. There was no historical archaeology, what they call historical archaeology. It was back from the Aberdeen. And at that time, I questioned, how can we call ourselves a national witch organization when we're not sharing all the stuff? And how that has morphed over the years. And even in 2012, you know, there was maybe one black paper, and CAA figured out where to put it at the conference. Today, we have almost a full day session. It takes our average paper, then it's never just a one. So I'm really happy to see this organization having more future. And it's kind of sexy, right? Yeah. There's so much room here to play. For folks of all kinds of interests, backgrounds, children. The water comes from the CAA, comes professor here, and shares to learn and all that. I think that's a perfect place to leave it.
I think so. Thank you, President. But I think before we let you go, we've got one more mic drop before our intermission. You're going to continue doing it, and even if you draw yourself, you'll probably still get me the prize.
Really proud of you. I got a prize after session, dedicated to David and
Yeah.
We got a UNB Past-President, Jeremy Cunningham.
Jeremy Cunningham, yeah. And what is Jay winning, Ken?
What is Jay winning? Jay is winning.
I think that's great. What do you think?
We've got a
Just two Lethbridge winners in a row? Oh, they might be using weighted index factor.
We've got a pronghorn. A Stanset Canucks. Jake, this is the University of Lethbridge ones will come in handy.
Yeah.
And an ASA shoulder man. It's well done, Mr.
And if the chocolate project that way, drop it off.
Alright, I think we'll be back. Yeah, everybody, applause for TJ and Jamie. Thank you so much.
The Let's really a big announcement.
And only a announcement he's going to make.
Okay, then at the back of the room, can you hear us now? Thumbs up. What about the very back? Sarah, can you hear us? Okay. We love the noise, we love the conversation, but the back, we might have to keep it around this level. So, sorry.
But think of it as a way to lean in close and talk to someone you really like. And if you don't know that person, don't do that. Exactly. I'm not even sure there's a sticker for the name tag that will allow that. So stay tuned. We got a very special guest coming. It's appreciate your cooperation in this podcast, in which we are all now partners.
Yeah. It's like we're a big community here in the upper floor of the Grizzly Paw Pub.
Yes, you may not be wearing the green sticker, but you are wearing the podcast sticker.
Exactly. And if you don't have a podcast sticker, we have a lot of them up here. We also have podcast posters, and come get all of the swag. And if you are not an Alberta archaeologist and you're not associated with the ASA, you probably don't know about these amazing chocolate projectile points that we have a ton of. And so put your hands up, and at the next intermission, we will be walking around the room to distribute some delicious. I was flailing around the room, but there might be some,
collateral there.
Yeah. We don't have liability insurance, and they gave this place for free, so we don't want to push our luck.
And part of the reason we've asked people to keep it to a don't worry, we have a very special guest coming up.
We do have a very special guest coming up. So, do we want to introduce our next guest?
I think that's what we do now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together if you'd like to welcome our next guest, Kisha Supernant.
Yeah!
And thank you for joining us, Kisha. Kisha's the director of the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology and a professor in the Department of Anthropology at the University of Alberta, and also a first-time guest on the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
We're really happy to have you. And so we thought we'd start off by asking all of our guests to run something. We asked them what that is. What is the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology, and what does it do, or what do you make it do?
Great question. I'm happy to let you know. So the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology is an Indigenous-led institute at the University of Alberta, and it is down under Edmonton, Treaty 6 territory and AT homeland. And our mission really is to conduct community-engaged, community-led Indigenous research across Western Canada and beyond, to really change how we teach, how we practice, and how we develop policy around archaeological practice in order to transform the field to be more responsive and ethical in the work that we do, in the relationships that we build. So we have a really vibrant community of scholars who do all kinds of really cool research. They're peppered throughout the program this week, and so you'll hopefully get to see one of them. Yeah.
Are any of them here right now?
All right, I'm here right now. I've got some current and okay, folks.
Yeah. I'm going to benefit from the IPIA in my own research. So I have a big thanks to the Indigenous and Prairie Archaeology Institute. So that's there's some equipment coming out to New Brunswick. Yeah, so there is a tie-in. There's always a tie-in to the Brunswick Archaeology Podcast.
It's true.
Yeah. So your presentation at the CAA this year, though, is about the IPIA, its Guide to Good Relations. And so can you give us a quick preview of what that is and how it's changing archaeological practice?
You bet. So the Guide to Good Relations is a document that we co-developed at the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology with our scholars. It emerged first from developing principles of community. And this is a practice I've been doing now for a number of years, where any new group of people I'm working with, this could be a class, it could be a research project, or in this case, the Institute, we get together and we start from a place of shared values. We collectively define what those values are, and those form the foundation for how we want to be with one another in the work that we're doing. The idea here is to start from a place of how we want to be, rather than like a code of conduct, which is don't do these things. This is what we want to do together, and how we come together. So it talks about things like respect and mindfulness, accountability, trust, all of those different core values. So we had developed these principles of community a number of years ago. But the real challenge with these sorts of things is when the rubber hits the road. So you can have all the values you want, but what does that actually mean when you come into conflict, or something's not going the way you want it to? So the Guide to Good Relations is really our attempt to take those principles and broaden them into what they mean in practice. So we talk about how we develop the principles, what they mean. We talk about accountability mechanisms and conflict resolution. We talk about how we collaborate, how we determine who's on the paper.
Yeah.
Is it authors, which author order? We talk about what happens when you join our community and when you leave our community and how that all works. So the guide is really our way of saying, this is how we want to be archaeologists.
Yes.
That's terrific.
And is it intended to be like across nations and sort of a broad overview to working with Indigenous communities, or is it really specific to Treaty 6 or
So I would say that it's broad in terms of what it means for archaeology.
Yep.
I think that we don't necessarily define it in terms of the area that we're in. It's as much as how we're in community with one another as archaeologists, as including also how we work with community. So I think it has wide applicability. A big inspiration for us was Dr. Max Zavarron from the Clear Lab, who does amazing work around this as well. And we really want other people to take it up as a model. So you can find it on our website. If you come to the paper, you can have a QR code where you can just scan that and find the publicly available version of the Guide to Good Relations.
and in the show notes of this podcast.
We will put it in the show notes, yes. In addition to that, you chair the CAA working group on unmarked graves. Can you tell us about the important work that committee engaged with?
I sure can. So as many of you know, almost 5 years ago now, this month, the Kamloops made an announcement about findings from ground penetrating radar surveys at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. And of course, that became international news. Many of us who had been doing this work in some capacity already, because this work well predates that announcement, realized immediately that as the story grew, we were going to encounter a lot of challenges because people didn't know what ground penetrating radar did. They didn't really understand the context. There was all this attention and all this sort of rush to do something. And we were like, if this is going to happen, we need to make sure it's being done in the best possible way, because this is such a sensitive issue, very, very difficult, and it's also very scientifically difficult from an archaeological perspective to try to determine where unmarked graves are.
Yeah.
So a group of us came together under then President, CAA President, who's a Huggis, and we formed a working group as a response to our concern with what might happen. Right? So we've got people who have a GPR and use it for engineering, and they're like, we can find graves. And we're like, no, you can't. You don't know what we're doing. So
Engineers can't even find culverts consistently.
they can. But guess what? Culverts, easy to, they should be easy to find. They should be.
Sorry, maybe just back me out, Ken. Someone just yell. I'm not sure. Do we have any engineers in the audience?
Not any.
Big stuff.
Not as any, but if they're out.
Down at the top with the projectile points yet, so we're saying,
Engineers aren't getting the top of the projectile point, but
Yeah, so you let them give them up and they can grow them
I
up.
know, that's why we get the hats.
Yeah, right. Protections.
yeah.
But yeah, so the working group really focused on creating best practice documents, much of it still sits on the CAA website, and we've been working together really ever since, and currently have a large grant through ROSIF, a reconciliation network grant to continue to advance the science, to help develop tracing and capacity building for community, and to really work on questions around data sovereignty and data management, because that's become a very huge issue.
There's some great resources on there, like videos just basically kind of introducing concepts like magnetometry, GPR, and that kind of stuff that sharing with communities is really important to try to get a sense of what's going on.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah Hazel, who's featured in a lot of those videos.
Okay, all right. So a lot of work is focused on changing how archaeologists approach their work. You're also a professor, so what advice do you give to new archaeologists or archaeology students here in the room who might be engaging for the first time? How do they reach out? How do they collaborate? Like, what's the starting point other than the IPIAs with a Guide to Good Relations? So
I think it's a great question. So one of the piece of advice I'd like to give to archaeologists, I mean, I often end up with people who contact me because they want to do archaeology differently, right? They want to do archaeology that matters to someone other than themselves, just for an intellectual pursuit. They want it to matter to the community. They want to have collaborators. I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give, though, is be realistic about what you can accomplish in an academic program that is time limited. So because guides good relations, you start with relationships first. Relationships take time. I believe there's a slow archaeology session tomorrow that's going to talk about that. But if you're coming in to say, a master's degree, you're not going to have the time to develop the relations. So work with a supervisor who has good relations and is not going to be looking to you to build from scratch, especially at the master's level. And then they can also train you and bring you into those relations so you can learn about how to be respectful, how to listen, and how to do work that matters to the community, because you don't know what matters unless you listen, unless you're paying attention. So that's a really important aspect of it. And I'm thinking about ways in which we can continue to advance archaeological methods to help with some of these very sensitive commodities. So I've had many students that I've gone and helped around residential schools. And I'm always really careful, because if you produce a master's thesis, you have to have data in your thesis. And it's the community's data. And if we want to actually do taxonomy, then we need to be really careful about how we work it. And when it comes to unmarked graves, none of my students, unless the community is super enthusiastic about including them, puts any of that information in the thesis. But we can do things to make the message better. We can do things that will still help. So let's be strategic and think about what are skill sets you can bring. Because you can't solve all the problems for either teaching, but there are ways to contribute to any level of being an academic. So find the best supervisors, find a work program where you can learn about how to be in relation before you take on building lots of lectures at SICA.
So that seems like great advice. And do we have any graduate students in the audience? Can you raise your hand if you're a graduate student? Yeah. So I'd like to highlight something else that Keith said about being a graduate student. Next, you describe the degree as time limited. You should remember that. That's important.
I have a good track record.
So, I don't. So go work for Kisha.
Is it sober? Sorry, Robert? 2 years.
2 years. Let's have a round of applause for Crawford.
Yeah, there we go. So Kisha, you're a former Garrett Copeland student.
I am.
We also found out that Garrett Copeland is this year's recipient of the Smith-Wickenburg Award. So, in the spirit of what is something that you bring forward in your work that came out of working with Gary as grad student and now colleague?
That's a great question. So I had the pleasure of working with Gary in my master's. It was a pretty short time. I think it done in a reasonable time.
It's time limited.
Time limited. But I first got to work with Gary in Frenchburg Harbor. And he took me over, got to work on the extremely famous boardwalk site for several weeks in summer of, I'm not going to say. But one thing that really stuck with me about working with Gary and is that the work and then, this was over 20 years ago. And it also introduced me to the landscape and the place and the amazing archaeology of that part of the world. And then I've been working on and up there for the rest of his career. So Gary really was like introduction to that. And he also really encouraged me to think beyond what I was doing at my master's. Like really to push boundaries of the scholars and the things that I was working on and to really imagine beyond. And that really defines my entire career. I'm going to get anything to get a summit where you should depend on that. I think beyond. I think beyond the boundaries that archaeology has shifted to what studies. And that matters to me a lot. And I can thank Gary for a lot of help about this work.
I said, Kisha, beyond the bounds, but within the time.
Outside.
And so, Kisha, what are you excited about, or what do you recommend to do here in Canmore?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I mean, look around. Anytime you can, just look up and enjoy. The folks who've never been here before, the Rockies have such a special flavor for us. In every mountain range is village, and the Rockies have the majesty that we all want to enjoy. So the best thing I can say is get out of the hotel, don't go in every session, and get into nature.
Yeah.
And stay away from these wildlife. Do not feed the bears. Generally good advice in life. And if you see a moose, run away. Slowly.
And Kisha, you recommended skipping some sessions. Which would those be?
Not mine.
So Kisha, before we let you go, I think it's time for another prize drop.
Oh, hang on, I have a suggestion. You asked about a name.
A name, yes,
I
for the
have a
podcast.
suggestion for the name of the podcast.
Okay.
I think what you could mind. I think, based on the wonderful email we got from the CAA President, You should change this to Archaeology Matters.
I know. She said in future to check the government too. Yeah, you might need to hold it down again.
Well, it also has a double meaning. Because Archaeology Matters to the importance, and we also talk about Archaeology Matters.
There you go.
Let us go.
I do love it. Yeah. I'm putting that one in the running, everybody. All right. And but while we ponder that suggestion, we have another prize to draw.
Okay.
We have another prize. Yeah. Hopefully to avoid bias, because it's not a University of Lethbridge person. So I said,
Trevor Porcher.
and Ken, Trevor left.
He promised me he was going to stay for my part of the podcast.
I bet Trevor left to get a job at Lethbridge. All right, well, I guess Trevor's out of the running. So, oh no. Okay, we'll set aside a chocolate with that golf party for him. If he's lucky.
That's the moment. Kevin!
Oh, Primer! And Ken, what is coming into like the rig? Kisha, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Big applause for you.
Not just because they're going to be reviewing my tenure files, but
Oh, so we find out why University of Lethbridge wins all the prizes now.
there's no ulterior motive here. So Gabe, you wanna kick us off here?
By
Running our intro?
oh yes. So Ken, I haven't checked the news lately, but I believe with Frank Zappa that said every country needs a beer, an airline, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which means Alberta is about 2/3 of the way there. But as Shawn and Kevin make their way up here, let's have a referendum. The way this works is we'll call it the beer, and by the raucousness of the audience response, we'll see which beer is the typical choice here among CAA audience. And listener, you can see it's going to be very Western here momentarily. Boot stomping, spur dangling, hats ready to be tossed, mother of pearl handle, 6-shooters ready to be brandished. Okay, so we're going to list the beers here. Ken is going to list the beers.
Okay, so we're just gonna do this by audience applause of Grizzly Paw Pub here. So we've got the Powder Hound Blonde Ale. How's everybody feeling about that one?
Okay, pretty popular.
Okay, fine. What about the Grumpy Bear Honey Wheat?
No.
Okay, silent on that one. Okay,
Interesting.
Beaver Tail Raspberry Ale. That's a refreshing one in the next batch, eh? No, okay. Tap it. Okay. What about the Running Elk Rat? Yeah, this man.
It's a running elk rat.
Yeah. The Bighorn Nut Brown. Okay.
Wait, that's the dance club next door too, isn't it?
I think it might be. Then we're gonna get into the Summit series. So we have the Rundle Stone Easy IPA.
That's very popular at Headsmack in Buffalo.
That was only one person. So we got the Three Sisters Pale Ale. Okay.
Also popular.
And then the Evolution IPA.
Whoa, yeah. I like that one a lot.
I don't know. I think that's probably also red. One's that one.
I think it's Running Elk Red. Can we hear it again for Running Elk Red?
Yeah.
Okay, and now we are happy to welcome to this program Shawn and McGeough, who are professors in the Department of Geography and Environment, and we're going to shake things up to try to confuse whatever the game has been fixed here and make them draw up now. Let's see if we get a Lethbridge winner.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on, guys. All right. Going for the first row. Jennifer Nelson.
We've got Jennifer Halson.
Jennifer Halson, you are the winner.
And Ken, what is Jennifer about to win? And what does she do at the University of Lethbridge?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
I'm winning a bottle of Circle CRM branded bottle.
I see. But you
not the brand.
Capital.
Okay, so there you go. Okay. And can redistribute.
That's for the record.
So we
also.
don't thank Circle CRM for that yet.
We have Circle CRM to thank for that gift.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Yes, the people call it
Shawn, Bubel, and Kevin McGeough are professors in the Department of Geography and Environment at the University of Lethbridge, which has been cleaning up tonight, and where my associate Ken Thériault also teaches.
Yes, well, so my colleagues Kevin and Shawn, so along with the soon-to-be Dr. Bob Dawes, and for those of you who are not aware, Bob is the honorary degree recipient at ULET this year, so let's give a big round of congratulations to Bob Dawes.
He's the first honorary degree recipient in this new country.
Yes, there you go. So you guys co-direct a field school at the UNESCO World Heritage Site, Head Smashed in Buffalo Town. What is Head Smashed in Buffalo Town?
That's a difficult question because it's many things.
It's many things.
We didn't think of just the cliff where the buffalo were driven off, but it's actually an entire complex of dry lanes, gathering basin behind the cliff itself and the cliff, and then all the area down below where the campsite was, where they processed the buffalo. So it's very, very like hundreds of meters, and at the gathering basin, more than 14 that was gone. So
Oh, wow. And then I want to add in there, it's like, something that blows my mind about what we've had smashed in is that this site's been used in this way for at least 6,000 years. Maybe 10,000 years, we found almost 10,000-year-old artifacts there, so if you really think about it, like, what other institutions in human history have had a 6,000-year duration? All right, like, that scale is just is not.
Not even the Ark of the Covenant. And so your projects are covering some of the earliest evidence of use of the jump. And so in that context, what are your research objectives for this summer? You're having a project coming up, and you always do a field school there, I think, every other year.
That's right. We also make our field school, so we have one overseas and then one for the next passage. So students get experience of both kinds of archaeology.
So which two kinds are those?
Different time. But what we're trying to do this summer, and we can try to do this project, is try to figure out what the earliest use of water for the site. So we have these little cannibalizing hints of the earliest cat stations, earliest presence in the site. We don't know what people were doing there exactly, and so we are chasing that, if you will.
So it's possible, it's regular that they were using the jump in a similar way, funneling the bison through drive lanes to nose the cliff, over the cliff, and they're using that hunting strategy. But they also may have been driving the buffalo towards the cliff, resorting, capturing, using the cliff ending in. So with that.
Yeah, and there's sort of a competition between Head Smashed in the site down at Texas from like the oldest continuously used jump. I can see Shawn rolling her surprise. We've had this conversation.
Texas is so insane. So I thought, geologically, no way. Unreal over us.
I mean, it is also such a reason why we're young to it.
What about that one at Monteverde?
So this is a really significant site not just for archaeologists, but it's also for Blackfoot peoples. There's lands and traditional territories called within. So how do Blackfoot community members shape what Head Smashed in is today? And how do students learn about this history in postal?
That's a really good question. So I think to get answer that, I could quote Christian Thériault, who's one of our collaborators, and his grandfather, Joe Closhu, was one of the people that really instrumental in making the site even the similar it is today. And so Quench said to us that Head Smashed had been feeding the Blackfoot for thousands of years, and now it's feeding the Blackfoot a different way. Right? And so that really resonated with me. And when you think about how the metaphor of education being the buffalo, and now Head Smashed in, right, is an educational development center. That really has a lot of resonance for me, right, in terms of thinking about that and this really evolves. So, our students experience that, and we have a bunch of Head Smashed in alumni right here, right now. And so there's a number of ways that they experience it, right? So we're tracking at the art school, we're really considering it's all for human reconciliation. So we wanted students to actually experience the Blackfoot ceremony, right? That was a really, really key part, and that was something that the collaborators wanted to do as well. And we wanted to be reading Indigenous authors at the already got a field school, right? So they read, there's 2 weeks before we go to field school, they read Blackfoot authors, Blackfoot writings on the site. And then, what was really interesting to us, I think, was when our first meetings at Collaborative, trying to decide what our goals would be. They suggested to us they really wanted students to experience living on the land and communal living. And that was one of the major lessons. And so I was kind of expecting that there would be archaeological goals that the other staff would want to have. And that was so much of interest. It was really that, living. That's really interesting. That the students camp and the students have to cook their own food together and all work together in this communal kind of thing. And really feel connected to the land in really meaningful ways. So we're going to try to build that into our program.
And Gabe, if you want an Alberta camping experience, it is camping. As the campsite that they use to the head sites in Alberta. You need to understand tech-peg physics in a way that you do not need to understand almost anywhere else.
I was looking instructed, it sounded like they were describing entering into a covenant. So you were both recently involved in some DNA work on bison bones from Head Smashed In. What'd you find?
Well, I'm so happy to last year. One of our wonderful related listeners made a challenge. So it's actually one of the student researchers on our project.
Fantastic.
So one of the things that we do at the University of Lethbridge, I think very well, is have students at all levels engaged in the research. And Maven and her 2 other student colleagues, Skylar and Rex, actually came to us with a project idea, and Skylar and Rex are in biology, and so they understood the dynamics, and Mavis as the archaeologists pitched the actual research techniques, and that video got the bones, and so they buried the beads in the disintegrating right here. So
the listener can't see this, but Mavis and Matthew are sitting right in front of us. Can we hear it from Mavis and Matthew? And also, Mavis and Matthew, you've just won yourself an invite to the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast at a later date. So we'll get your email address at the end here. Can members of the public come and see you all work at Head Smashed In, and when does the field school begin?
Oh God, so the field school begins on Thursday?
Oh no!
Bad life choices.
You guys have had a heck of a month.
That's easy.
But can the public come and see you all?
So as of June 1st,
Okay.
the public can come visit us. We'll be there June 1st to 27th.
Yes.
So generally, if the weather is good, come down by the trail. We dig like 8:30, 8 o'clock to 6. Shoot like Ezekiel 7. Basically around 5 o'clock, Shawn and I start fighting. I want to go back to camp and feed the students. She wants us to keep digging because it's still sunlight, and she thinks the students are weak for eating to eat. So then
what I heard, Kevin, is that you're sensitive to community requests.
Exactly, I am. And they're laughing because they know this is true. So I literally tell the students, start hauling the equipment away from her. We'll go lock the equipment up and take away all the tools so she can't do any more work.
I've seen this workflow in action, actually.
Is that how your department meeting is?
Exactly, yeah. It's usually we just start walking out of the room.
Terrific. And Shawn, what are you excited for about the CAAs this year?
Apart from debating Gabe about culture and history.
That was the best part of the CAAs already. I can't be beaten. So a bunch of us love theory, and obviously
to be clear, I can't be beaten either. I want to make that clear.
But a bunch of us love theory, and often there's not a lot of theory sessions in the CAAs. So Gabe had a good theory session with a very provocative paper, and I know Ken's sitting in the back, so Jay and I right at the front, and he doesn't know this is coming. Where Jay and I just like flipped out and are yelling and excited, right? Like, oh, this is great, this is the best thing ever. Which hopefully you enjoy too.
I had a lot of fun. I thought it was actually a pretty interesting discussion. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, Gabe came out afterwards with this kind of like his armpits a little bit soggy, and he looks at me and goes, "That went okay, didn't it?"
Ken is my cut man at these things.
So before we go, what are you guys excited about here in Canmore? You're both like from Southern Alberta. You've probably been here many times. What should we experience? What should anybody who hasn't been here before experience before the weekend's out?
Like Kisha said, it's beautiful here. So actually get out, engage, as our Indigenous collaborators would say, like actually be in the area and actually like think about the area that you're in. So definitely do that. it's a funny story, we can't actually use the Bubel research station this summer, so we're using the U of C's research station, which is just around the corner.
Which they won in a prize draw, we're just going to say.
So we're going to go and check that out too. Very cool. Take a look.
That's great. And so thank you both very much for coming on. Before we let you go, we're going to make you draw another prize.
Yes, so this is I think this is the last prize.
This is the last major prize.
It's the last major prize of the night, so listeners, stay tuned. Okay.
And Ken, what is this prize that they are currently drawing out of the picture?
This prize is a Circle CRM bottle of vodka, an Atlatl zip-up sweater, and a beautiful tote bag to throw it all in, sling over your shoulder, and wander around Canmore tonight from the Alberta, the Archaeological Society at Alberta.
They are about to make someone from you left very, very happy.
All right, so partying with margaritas vodka soon will be Robert Gustus.
And what does Robert do with the immersive lesson? Well, Ken, I think we're looking at a half-finished bottle of Courvoisier.
I think we are. And thank you, Kevin and Shawn. And folks, we are nearing the end of our program. And we're going to say goodbye to Kevin and Shawn. And then we're going to welcome somebody on to give you a little bit of a preview of what the CAAs in 2027 is going to look like. And so, one more applause for Kevin and Shawn.
Thank you, Kevin and Shawn. And now we're welcoming a friend of the podcast, a friend of ours, Christian Thériault. There's a hat there if you need to borrow it, Christian.
Yeah, and so Christian Thériault is the provincial archaeologist for Prince Edward Island, and is joining us from Saint-Quentin, New Brunswick.
Let's have a round of applause for Saint-Quentin. And Christian, you're here to share some exciting news with us about the next CAA meeting.
Yes, we can be very
Where will it be held?
Well, the first time ever would be held in Charlottetown, PEI. So first time in PEI since the student could be happening.
Excellent.
Yeah, to be on the University of PEI.
Okay.
February 12th to 6th, 2027.
Terrific.
I think a lot of people from the West Coast and the Central.
Okay, so you heard it.
Yeah, there we go. Announce the dates again, please.
PEI, May 12th to 16th, 2027. All right, and it's at UPEI?
UPEI, yeah.
Okay. So tell us about the venue and tell us about Charlottetown.
Oh, it's going to be great.
For the people to be staying at the residents of the university, they are going to be returning to hotels in the summer so that people can stay in close by areas, but it's going to be very cheap, especially for students, so that could be a really great venue for black students to come and present.
Excellent.
The theme of the conference is going to be climate change, which is a big issue in PEI.
Yeah.
I know people were in the conference today, so.
What's that?
Logs down for erosion.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, yes. Yeah.
And so, Christian, what are you working on currently in PEI?
Mostly coastal erosion surveys to try to monitor the erosion of our numerous archaeological sites that have disappeared in the year.
Terrific. And so thanks so much for that, Christian. Can we get a round of applause for anyone who's planning to go to PEI and for Christian Thériault?
I don't know, Gabe. I think the New Archaeology podcast can come back in Charlottetown, but with bigger speakers.
Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. And but before we leave you all, we've had a great night tonight. We hope you all have too. And we've got a lot of people we want to thank. We'd like to thank Katie, TJ, Kisha, Shawn, Kevin, and Christian.
Woo! We also want to thank our generous sponsors, including the CAA, the Archaeological Society of Alberta. And we want to thank all of the companies who donated stuff, which I'm going to flip through my notes here and make sure I get all of them, Dave. We have the University of Lethbridge, Circle CRM, Stantec Consulting, and Atlatl.
Thank you to all those generous donors. We'd like to thank our producers, Emanuel and Cody.
Yeah!
We'd
like to thank the Grizzly Paw, and Ross Hanson for a lovely evening, and we particularly like to thank Bree, Jack, Chloe, Natalie, and Liz for all of their help tonight.
And before we go, folks, we have something very exciting. So part of this, the apron giveaway and everything, was that we wanted to dovetail this with kind of like a, basically, I don't know, like
we wanted to get money to the CAA Scholarship Fund.
Exactly, yeah.
And Ken, how much money did we get to the CAA Scholarship Fund?
Let me do some quick math here.
Ken is doing some quick math, and we're going to let you know momentarily how much money we got to the CAA Scholarship Fund.
What do we add to this one?
Ken is filling it out. We will find out momentarily. The number's going to have a comma in it. Ken's deciding where to put the comma.
Okay, so Christian is the host of next year. Actually, are TJ and Katie still here?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so Christian, you're hosting next year. So the Brunswick Archaeology podcast, and actually, well, really not the podcast, but all of the generous donations from everybody, we have raised $1,120 for the CAA Scholarship Fund. So, Christian, why don't we pass that along here? And Cody, can you snap a picture?
And we'd like to thank everyone who donated for their generosity.
And there's still a chance to donate. We still have some aprons left over if you're interested. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night and enjoy the rest of your CAA.
Thanks, everyone.
I don't know if anybody heard anything the entire night, but I mean, that was fun.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.